Hello friends, welcome to part 2 of the Toro Snow Thrower. Okay, so in part 1, we were trying to get it to start, and what happened was the fuel line was clogged, so I blew some air in through the fuel line, and I got the fuel to start running out. One problem was the mixture was it had way too much oil in the two-stroke mix. So what I decided to do was I just I drained out the gas tank, and then I put some fresh fuel in there and let that all run out. And what I did to try to get it started was I just left the fuel line disconnected, and I took the spark plug out, and I had a very good used one. So I put the, what I did was I sprayed some brake clean into the spark plug hole, and we were able to get it fired up. And what I did was I hooked up the fuel line, and I put fresh fuel in it. We were able to get it running, but one problem that I had was when I turned the key off, the ignition key off, it wouldn't shut off until I started jiggling the connector that goes to the switch, and then I got it to stall out. And okay, so since then, what I did was, it has one of these inline fuel filters in here, so I just put a new one in. I had a new one, so I just put a new one in. And like I said, we have the good used spark plug in there, so it starts up now and everything. But today what I want to do is I want to address this ignition switch here. Okay, so far what I did was, the connector was no good. It was like rusted on here. I had a hard time getting it off, but then I got it off. And then I just took my bench grinder on the wire wheel, and I cleaned off the connectors real good here. And over here you have the wire that comes off the coil. Okay, so I stripped it down, and we're going to put a new connector on there. And also, that's why I save everything. What we're going to have to do next is, there's a connector on here that goes to the switch. This wire was already made, and what I intend to do is I'm going to hook the wire up to the stud here. What I had to do with this was I just put some vice grips on here, and I had to drill this hole out a little bit so we could get it to slide onto the stud here, which it slides on nice now. And I'm going to hope that the switch is okay. We're not going to put the whole thing back together, but I'm going to go ahead on camera and just wire this thing up, and I'll show you how the switch works. Okay, so first I'll put this connector on. It's the wire that comes up from the coil, and we'll put that on there first. It's better to do some soldering with this. I'm not good at soldering, but I do have these connectors with the plastic coat that goes over it, so it should be alright. This machine was really abused. It was out in the rain. I could tell that, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to crimp. These crimpers are nice. They work pretty good. So, okay, so next what I'll do is I'll take that wire that I made, we'll put the eye hook on here, and then I'll bolt that on. I'm thinking to put this washer over the eye here. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I think that'll work out better. You know what I should really do? I'm going to try to clean up the surface of this cover here where it's going on, so it makes good contact. I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, so I cleaned off the cover here the best I could, and we're gonna put this eye connector down on here. And what I also did was I cleaned the washer off real good on the wire wheel, because this has to ground out the switch. You want that working good. So my plan is to, I put the connector on first on the stud, and then I put the washer on there, and now I'll just put this nut on here and I'll tighten that up down real good. That's tight. Okay, so how this works is, if you don't have the switch hooked up, let's say, and you're running the engine, and what you're doing here is you're grounding out the coil, right? So if you connect these two like this, it'll stall the engine. It'll cut the ignition off. So that's how the switch works. So when you have the ignition key off, it actually is like touching the two ends here together. It just crosses here and it kills the ignition. And then when you have the ignition turned on, this is all split apart here. Okay, so you turn the key off, and then these two are connected inside here, and it stalls the engine. Now I'm pretty sure that the way this switch works, it doesn't matter which terminal that you put the wires on, because I just explained to you how the switch works. It'll be open either way, and it'll close either way, whether this is on this side or if this connector is on this side. So I think what we're going to do now is I'm going to this switch just clips in from the top, so I'm just going to clip this switch in here and hope the switch is okay. I plan on using one of these blowers. I may have to use it as a donor. So once I hook up these wires, I'll do it off camera. I have to put this cover back on because that's where the pull start is. And we're going to start it up and see if it works. Another thing I noticed with this machine is the auger works when I pull the handle back, but then when I let the handle go, the auger is still spinning. I had intentions of inspecting the belt anyway. So it must have, the idler pulley might be hanging up in there. Like I said, this thing was out in the elements, in the rain and everything. So let me just go ahead and I'll connect these two up. Like I said, doesn't matter where you hook them up to. So I'll just hook this one up over here. And I'll hook this other one up on this side here. Just make sure they're on there real good. Like I said, I don't know if the switch is any good, because when I was wiggling this over here, it made the engine shut down when we originally got the engine started. So, okay, so I'm going to put this cover back on and then we'll test it and see. I've gone as far as some of these switches were bad, and I just stuck a toggle switch on there. I mean, you don't need a key in there, you know. I just put a toggle switch in there and it was marked on and off and so on. So you could use either or, a key ignition or a toggle switch. Okay, so this will be the first startup of the day. I mean, you definitely have to get this ignition switch sorted before you put this together, because once you put that top cover on, there's no gaining access to anything. So I want to make sure that all that is working good, and then we'll go ahead and we'll check and see how the auger belt is and the tensioner, because there is a problem in there. So like I said, first start up with the day, since we started it up the other day. So I turned the ignition on, I got a choke, maybe give it a couple of primes. That don't sound too good. Works good. It turns off like it should. I think we're looking at taking the carburetor apart and cleaning it. I think we're definitely looking at that. The auger's spinning and it's shooting good. Okay, so we have the ignition switch sorted. We'll move on to taking the inspection belt off and see what's going on with the auger. Yeah, this machine is for sure a real rust bucket. It's got nuts and bolts that are holding the cover on. And to get to the nut over here is a little bit of a problem, but I got it loosened up off camera, thank God. I just want to keep this video at a reasonable amount of minutes. This piece over here I had to bend out. It was all bent in. This machine really had its butt kicked. You know, I had this machine tilted on its nose before. I don't know if that had something to do with the cold start. I'm not sure. But under normal conditions, when I don't have to rock this thing, now the nut is stuck in here. It's like, so what you want to do is just take this. We'll get this out. We'll put the nut back on here, on the bolt. I have to clean all this up. I still have to sort out nuts and bolts for the top cover, you know, the red cover that goes on top, because they were rusty. They had screws in them. I don't know how I got it out. I got it apart without not cutting anything. So, all right, so let's get on with this. I loosened these up already. There's a nut and bolt missing here. I'm most likely going to have to go out and buy hardware anyway. This way we could have everything the same size. Because I'm using a 3/8 socket and this one's a 7/16 socket, and I like to keep everything uniform. Okay, now we're going to switch over to the 7/16 socket. That one in the back, I don't know if it has a nut behind it. I have to check. I got it bust loose, but I'm not really sure. So the one with the broken pull cord and the PTO is not working properly. I don't know, maybe we'll use that as a donor. I'm pretty sure these are Tecumseh engines, but I'm not 100% sure. The some are Craftsman, some are Tecumseh. I don't know if Tecumseh was still making engines when this was built. I'm not sure. Alright, let's mosey on over to the other side over here. How's this cover coming off or what? Or is it stuck on there somehow? Yeah, this is all bent up over here. It's probably all curled in here. Yeah, this is a mess. Might have to pry it off. Let me get that other nut and bolt off. Or bolt or whatever it's holding that, and we'll see if we get this cover off. Move you over just as. There we go. I'm pretty sure this is the 3/8. Yeah, it's a 3/8 socket we need for that. If there's a nut behind it, I don't know how we're getting to that. No, I don't think there is. I think they had enough brains to just thread this in. Yeah, they did. They had enough brains to just thread this in without a nut in the bolt. Okay, so we got that off now. That is the chintziest belt I ever saw. This idler over here, that's pretty loose. I don't know what the heck. Oh, that gets held on. I don't know, the tension's coming off pretty good. Is there some kind of spring? You know, oh, look at this. The spring is off. That's the problem. That's the problem. The spring came off. I wonder if the belt on the donor one's better than this belt. I don't like this belt at all. That's what I was talking to you about with the Craftsman. I don't know if you saw that video. That one had a V-belt on it. And remember, the auger was getting stuck and it was burning up the belt. Now with a belt like this is a serpentine belt, it would have just burnt the belt right up if that had a serpentine belt on it and it had that problem. So this is the problem here. The return spring came off. So that's no big deal. Off camera, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the cover off the other machine, the donor, which I think it's going to be a donor. Let me take that cover off and pull the belt, take a look at that belt, and maybe we'll just switch the belt and I'll put the spring back on this one. And hopefully we have the problem with the auger sorted. Okay, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this is the part of the belt here that I don't like. And there's a couple other parts here. It looks like it's going to split here. And now I took the belt off the donor. And the belt seems to be fine all the way around. So we're going to use the belt off the donor. Okay, when you put the belt on, the first thing you want to do is you want to put it on this pulley first here, and then you have this guide here for when you're not engaging the PTO. It keeps the belt from jumping off. So what you're going to do is, I already put the spring on there, okay? So what you're going to do is, you're going to pull the tensioner down, like it's putting tension on the belt, so you can slide it over this pulley here, okay? And then you want to come back here, and be careful here. There's a guide here, and I almost stuck the belt on the outside of the guide. If you do that, you'll burn the belt up right away. So what you want to do is next, you're going to stick the belt in between the guide, put it around this pulley here, and then you're going to put it on the tensioner last. Once you get it on here and you get it on the pulley, you can slip this belt right down onto the pulley. And we got a good working thing here now. Well, I can't test it now because this is the type of blower that the whole thing goes up when you pull it, but I tried it before. It's got good tension on it. It is a good belt. You know, they're interchangeable. So we took care of the belt. I fixed it. I had to repair this where the spring goes on the bracket. I should really show you, but it was a simple thing where the spring goes on the bracket was bent down. I don't know what happened, how that happened, but I straightened it out. I popped the spring back on. So when you release the bail, this is supposed to be loose, and it wasn't before. This was laying on the belt, which was tightening the belt enough for the auger to spin, even though you weren't using the auger. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put the cover back on. You saw how I took it off. I'm using the hardware off the donor machine because the hardware is in a lot better shape. I'll just spray it up a little bit so the nuts go on the bolts easy. And then we'll give it a try and see how that goes. Okay, so I may as well show you this. This is where the spring goes on here, and this spring was just sitting down at the bottom there. It came off. And this bracket here was just bent all the way up. I don't know why, how that could have happened. The bracket was bent. So I straightened the brackets out here. This one was a little bent up on top here. I stuck the spring back on. And this is what I was talking about before. I don't know if you can even see that on camera. Yeah, you kind of can. That spring pulls the tension all the way off the belt. That's what the spring is there for. So I just thought I would show you that. Okay, so now we're going to test it. Okay, so you guys that are doing these machines for resale, always make sure that auger shuts off when you release the bail, because these things are dangerous to begin with. All right, so let's go on and see if this thing works out okay now. Turn the key on. I guess I'm not used to the ignition working, huh? Okay, so that's what we want it. It's working good. Okay, so next I'm going to put the top cover back on it, put the chute back on it, and in the next video, when I start the video for the other Toro that we're going to be working on, well, I'll test it and we'll make sure it works okay then. And in the next video, we're going to see if we can get this one started, just like we did with the other one. We'll go through all the tests and everything. I believe this one's regular gasoline it takes. And I'm having a hard time reading these tags. I'm gonna have to get my magnifying glass. I'm curious to know if this is a Tecumseh engine, which I'm pretty sure it is, or a Briggs & Stratton engine. I don't know. So, not that it really matters, but I'd like to know. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll see all you guys on the next one, and stay safe.